Isn't that ironic? A horrible wet day, still ran a Boston qualifier in Boston in 2015. It was very wet, very cold, very windy. We were told the night before via email to reassess our time and also reassess our clothing attire. But, you know, I run in Tassie winter, so, you know, I knew I could hack it. And I did wear a beanie right up until the last 10K just to keep the warmth in my body. But a lot of people got hypothermia that day. But yeah, like I had a good one. But yeah, when I was actually, you know, sort of not real flash for leukemia, and I was told that I might die, but, you know, not being pessimistic, but I said, I want one thing only. I want to be buried with my Boston medals. Even the little 5K runs that we did a warm-up run with the family. So yeah, but like I said, I wasn't too concerned about, you know, sort of taking that legacy of the marathon medals with me to the grave. But like 2010, I'm really glad I got to run Boston in 2010 and 13, 14 and 15. But, you know, back in the early days, the medals were made in Boston, or made in America, made out of pewter. Although they're fancy now, they're certainly not the quality of what those early day medals were. Not quite as big, but like I said, that's pure pewter, which makes it a really nice medal and definitely one of my favourites. But like I said, I wasn't too concerned about, there's his partner, they're collector's pieces as well. Yeah, so I've also got a bib and another medal from each race. 2010. 2013, I was really upset. I missed out by about 40, or even less, I think it was about 30 spots starting in the first wave, or corral. But in the end, that worked out really well because I wouldn't have run a PB that day because it was only, 15 seconds faster than my qualifier on the Gold Coast. But I started on the actual start line of the second wave, right on the start line. So, you know, that was pretty cool to start on the start line in 2:13. Went back to Boston in 2:14. That was my only run that I never qualified again because I actually had a torn plantar fascia 6 weeks into training. So I didn't run again to the Boston Marathon and run with a really heavily taped foot. I had one of the physios that used to work on the Australian Athletic Olympic team, so he knew his business, but he said, I've never taped anyone for a marathon before with a condition like you've got. But like I said, I ran half the race and walked half in 4 hours and 17. Some might say that's, you know, run marathons, that's a good time, but when you're, you know, sort of around the 3:15 mark, 3:20 mark, that's slow. So yeah, so the family always have those, but I'll go to the ground with those. The only thing I'm taking with me to the grave are my Boston medals. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Just sort of a bit bored here today. How about those Rolling Stones, all signed by the boys. Brand new album, never been played. That'll be worth a few dollars now with old Charlie Watt's signature on it. So yeah, it's certainly a nice little, it doesn't get any sun this room, but it does have a view. Even when that big house gets built next door, they told us they haven't taken any of our view out, which is nice, very considerate of them. But yeah, that's my little bit of love there, right there. I will say another thing, even though it's great runners run the Boston Marathon now, back in the day in 2010, a lot of people didn't know about Boston, the significance of the Boston race. And although running evolved and more people run marathons, I really think that Boston became a little bit famous or infamous because of that 2:13 event, which we all know about. You know, like, it sort of lost its glory as far as I feel, because I've run it 2 times since the Bonds. But I just feel it lost its glory from those early days before 213. It was just a different race altogether. It was just more hard ass. And, you know, qualifiers qualified and tried for a long time, a lot of them. Whereas now a lot of those qualifiers will never get to run because so many good runners qualify so easily, and therefore those runners that have been trying for years will never have a chance now, because you've got to be about 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 minutes under your qualifying time to at least get to Boston now, which is sad for those runners, you know. But yeah, you know, very, very... that spot at about 17k, I always put my arms up and had a photo taken, even then when I was bloody in pain with a torn plantar. Yeah, and like I said, that was my last photo ever taken in a marathon, and I was actually smiling towards the finish line. Look at the water on the road. It was a shocker of a day. Look, my clothes are stuck to me, but I was happy. I knew I'd run a qualifier on such a crap day, coming back from that torn plantar fascia that ended up taking me out for 6 months. So yeah, there you go.